Hello there, welcome to my channel. This is the second video in a series around the new reMarkable Move, the 7.3-inch color e-ink note-taking device. The first video was the unboxing, but also a first kind of hardware impressions video, as well as the setup process. This video is focused exclusively on the software, and we call it the visual tour. The point of the video is to give a really comprehensive view of what the device can do and how it operates. It's a long video, but at the end of the video, you'll walk out with a really good, solid knowledge of what the device is and is capable of. And if you're not interested in watching the entire video, that's okay. There's plenty of chapters. You can just jump ahead to the sections and areas that you're interested in. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in and see what this thing can do. Okay, let's talk about some of the gestures that are available to navigate on this device. And you can see a summary of these at any time. If you click on this hamburger button there, and you click on guides here, there's a complete guide to all the gestures here. And we can see there's the first 4 rows there. And if we scroll down, then you can see the last 2 as well. None of these are customizable. They're all static gestures. Let's go ahead and go over what some of those gestures are. Here we're back in the home screen. If I take my 2 fingers and I swipe down, then I can come up with my favorites, and you can see that with the star there, or I can look at recent files, and I can use my finger to scroll among those files. So that's available with 2 fingers down. Now, real quickly, if you did want to make a file a favorite, for example, maybe I want to create this file, I'm going to long press it, and then a menu comes up. I have the ability to rename it, to duplicate it, to move it, to delete it, and if I click this More button, that's where I can select it as a favorite. I can also select a tag, I can send it to email, and you can see here I have an integration with the Google Drive, so I'm able to send the document to Google Drive using this function as well. If we take 1 finger and swipe down from the top right side, then what you get is this menu, and this includes a battery percentage indicator as well as a graphical representation of that percentage, your status on Wi-Fi, you've got your front lighting toggle here, so there's partial front lighting, here's full front lighting. You can go into airplane mode. This is basically a share mode, so you can share what you have on the screen with the reMarkable app, as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network. So that's basically how that works. And then finally, you have the ability to lock rotation. So right now, if I click on this and I rotate the device, it'll maintain its orientation. Otherwise, it can go landscape and back to portrait and then to landscape again if I spun the device around. So that's what that toggle does. I can use my finger to scroll here. See, I'm scrolling through the documents, and you can see the scroll bar here on the side. And those are all the main gestures on the home screen. If we go into one of our documents, I can pinch to zoom. So I can go ahead, and so you can see the zoom down below, and I can go all the way up to 1.0. Let's go back down again. There we go. And if I tap on it, it'll take me to 1.0 as well. I can advance from page to page by taking my finger and swiping like so. And if I go all the way to the end of the document, when I do that, it'll give me the option to add another page. There we go, with that icon right there. So some navigation features within a notebook. If I take my finger and I swipe from the bottom, you'll notice that it creates this page slider down below. And it also tells me the name of the file up there as well. I can do 2 fingers in order to undo an action. So let's go ahead and do that now. And I can do 3 fingers to redo that action, as you can see there. Panning across the page is best done with 2 fingers. And you can scroll accordingly, left and right to a certain degree, but definitely up and down. You do have the ability to have an infinite canvas scrolling down. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll. If I put an X here, like so, we can scroll further, and we can keep going like that. The home screen displays a file folder structure. So you can see each of the files here, and this is a combination of notebook files as well as PDFs. And somewhere in here, we even have an EPUB. Yep, right there. And you can basically create your own folders. You can move files around into those folders. So there's general file management here. If you go down below, you have the ability to do a search. And this is basically searching on, you can search on handwriting, you can search on titles, and you can also search on tags, and that's what this tag is. So if I click on that, I've got a couple notebooks that would have a page that has those tags, and those would appear there. So that's all available here on the home screen. If I long press the plus button, I can go into a singular quick document. So it'll take me into the last page of that document. Otherwise, if I click on the plus button, I have the ability to create a new notebook, a folder, or again, that's another way to get into that quick sheet. And here we are on the 6th page. If I close out of that and I hold down the plus button like so, now suddenly I'm in the 7th page of that quick sheet. I also have the ability, obviously, to sort. I can change the look of it. So there's a large grid look. We were on medium grid. There's a small grid. And finally, I could go into a list mode with even smaller grids, but a little more additional information. You can see there's a number of sort options that are available, and you can just select those there. If we click on this hamburger over here, there's a number of options. My Files is the home screen that we just went over. You can filter for just notebooks, PDFs, or ebooks. You can just look for your favorites. You can look for things that have tags. And then finally, you can go into integrations. And integrations are managed through reMarkable.com, and that's highlighted later in this video. You also have a trash bin for any deleted files that might exist in the account, and you can actually clear those by using that little icon down below. There's also some guides that are available, and there's also a link to reMarkable methods, which again will be highlighted later on in the video. And finally, there are settings. Within settings, we'll start with general settings. Here's where you would have your account, the version of your software, which is indicated here, and you can also check for updates. If we click on advanced, you can join the beta program if you'd like, or you can go into either retail or developer mode. If we go back, the marker has a battery percentage indicator, and you get some details about the marker there. You can change the languages. The system language only comes in either English or German, but there's more options when we look at the on-screen keyboard, and those are listed there. Furthermore, handwriting conversion, those are all the options that are available there. The battery indicator is located here, and you can also set your standby time in either one of those 3 increments, or whether you want it on or off to begin with. And then finally, you've got your storage indicated here. You can go into flight mode, you can restart or turn off. This is also capable by holding down the power button. If we go into network settings, we have the ability to turn on and off Wi-Fi and then join networks. Cloud settings is just a way to check if you are correctly syncing to the cloud. You can do a passcode or adding contact details when you're in standby mode, just so that you can identify your device if it gets lost. So those are available there. In addition, we have some display options. We have this visible content, which is when your open document will show even though you're in a standby mode. You can lock the rotation here. You remember you could also do that in the drop-down bar. You could also have done the front lighting here and in the drop-down bar. But if you want to make it extra bright, that option is only available here in the settings. Then we go into accessibility, and there are some, placements of your menu bar can be identified here. It can also be dragged manually, both when you're in portrait and in landscape mode. Your font size and your right and left-handed settings are all here. Finally, there are some places you can go for help. There's some technical detail here, but there's also an ability using this QR code to report an issue. And that can also be done on reMarkable.com. We're inside a document, and so we're going to go over the menu items that are available inside a notebook. First off, you do have this little circle with a dot in it, and that's your toggle. If you click on that, everything else disappears, and the only object that remains is the circle itself. If you click on the circle, then the menu comes back up. This is basically selecting your pen style, thickness, and color. You also have your eraser features here. And if you click on that twice, you can either have a stroke eraser, and then you can change the thickness of it, or you can have a selection eraser where you can just circle something and it deletes, or you can just erase all. Then you have your what's called a selection tool. Some people would call that a lasso tool. So if I go ahead and right here, oops, and then use the selection tool, then there's a number of options here. I can resize it, I can rotate it, I can also cut, copy, and then finally convert it to text. And there it is. It didn't convert really well because it was on its side. Let's try that again. And there you go. You have undo and redo. And then in the More button, this is where you have typing. You can do layers. There's up to 5 layers available on the device. There we go. And you can move the layers up or down. You can choose which layers you want to see by clicking on the eyeball. You can consolidate layers by clicking on that button or delete them altogether. The template can also be selected here. And here are all the templates that are designed specifically for the move itself. And we'll just go ahead and scroll just to take a look at what options are available. And then RM methods you can get to in myreMarkable.com, and that's where you can download additional templates that have been added there by the community. Here we have another place where we can convert to text, but this would do it for the entire page. Enabling shapes is selected. We can do page overview, which will create a grid of the pages that are available. And much like on the home screen, you can go ahead and select different levels, as well as create a new page as indicated down below. If there were a lot of pages, it might be easier to simply type in the number of the page, and that would take you directly there. So we'll go to 5 and go, and now we're on the 5th page. You have the ability to do tags. Tags are relevant in this context for the entire page. So in reMarkable, you can either tag a page or a document. In this context, it's basically tagging the page only. And I can either take an existing tag or you can create a new tag. Then you have the ability to search here. You can share the document. And you can either do it with the screen share presenting through the reMarkable app, or you can send via email. And then you have some basic notebook settings where you can rename the page, and you can decide when you what either the first page or last visited page is the cover for that document. And finally, you can add a page down below. So let's take a quick survey of the different pen styles that are available. And you can see there's 9 basic pen styles. Most of them have 3 lines of thickness, and most of them have the exact same set of colors to choose from. A couple exceptions. If you go to the highlighter here, you can see that there's 6 different colors available. There's also this option to snap to text, which means that when you draw your highlight over text, it'll render as a tighter highlight, a cleaner highlight, if you will, over that text. Otherwise, if you turn that off, it's just a free form, as it is in normal note-taking. And then there's also this shader, which also has a slightly different color set, and this is more for if you're drawing. So the other pen styles, the other 7, are really meant for different types of note-taking. Now in this grid, I show examples of what the colors are of those 9 colors, and then what the behavior is. You might recall from the previous video, I basically did a demonstration of the behavior. I is for instantaneous, meaning as you draw it, it just appears as is. S is for subtle, snaking, and rendering. So snaking is when you have a little bit of a black line that follows your pen. And subtle just means that's a fairly short black line. And then O is overt snaking and rendering, where you've got a very large black line, and that also renders as well. So we see the colors here and the behavior here. And here's black, gray, and white. And if we scroll down, we can see blue, red, green, and yellow. And you can see that the reds and yellow has overt snaking and rendering, and blue and green is subtle. If we keep going, we have cyan, which is also subtle, and magenta rather, which is overt. If we look at the highlighter, there's an example of the 6 highlighter colors in action. And again, there's a summary of the behaviors. You've got instant with black, you've got your darker colors here that has the more subtle snaking, and the obvious ones with things like red and yellow. Just to show that in action real quickly, let's go ahead and go to the fine liner, and we'll go to red. And so again, this is an example of overt or obvious snake and render. So as I draw this line, you'll notice that there's a very long black line that's following my pen tip before the line turns to red. And then when I stop drawing, it will convert that line to a different shade of red. So let's take a look at that in action. You can see that right there. We stop, and then the rendering will take place then. In terms of what the different pen styles look like, here are examples of them. And what I've done here is I've written out each pen in the 3 line thicknesses that are available, and then I indicate whether it's pressure sensitive or tilt sensitive. Pressure sensitive meaning how much pressure do you put down in the stylus, and tilt sensitive is the difference between, say, going straight down or writing on the side of the pen. So again, ballpoint pen has some pressure sensitivity, but no tilt sensitivity. Fine liner doesn't have any type of sensitivity, and there's the examples there. The pencil has both pressure and tilt sensitivity, but the mechanical pencil does not. The calligraphy pen has pressure sensitivity, but no tilt sensitivity. And then the marker is the inverse, no pressure sensitivity, but it does have tilt sensitivity. The paintbrush is both pressure and tilt sensitivity. And that is a quick overview of what the different pen styles and colors look like. The reMarkable features what you might call shape perfection, and this is where if I draw, let's say I draw a line, I'll make it a little wobbly, but then I hold it, it will make that line straight. If I keep holding onto the line, I can move it, I can make it smaller, larger, and rotate it accordingly. This also works with traditional geometric shapes, so if I draw kind of a wobbly triangle and hold it, there's the triangle, I can make it smaller, larger, and rotate accordingly. There are a number of options when you create a text box. Let's go ahead and do that. You can decide if you want the width of your column. We'll go ahead and pick the widest and add text. And we can go ahead and type down here. We're a little bit over on the side. There we go. I can tap on the text in order to get back into it. And we'll go ahead and start a new row. There are 3 different font sizes in terms of text. You also have the ability to do bullets, check marks, or numbered lists. Let's go ahead and do checklist, like so. And here, we can click on it to create a check. And here's an example of what the bullets and the numbered list looks like as well. Now there's some additional gestures you can use with text typed into a notebook. So I can double click on this sum just to highlight that word. And there we go. I can also take my stylus and drag these endpoints to add in additional text. And you can see we have the ability here to cut, copy, paste, bold, or italicize that text. In addition to that, I can just select this entire paragraph by triple clicking, like there you go, a word, and it'll highlight that entire paragraph, like so. Another feature is the ability to kind of highlight large blocks of text at a time. So you can see here I have the highlighter. I happen to be in a PDF, and let's say I want this whole paragraph here. I can just take my highlighter and go like this, and it'll automatically highlight the entire paragraph. The last gesture we'll highlight here is if I want to get out of the document, I can just swipe down from the top and it'll take me back to the home screen. The menu options in documents is similar to notebooks, but there's a couple differences. And we'll start by looking at an EPUB file. So if I click on that, we can see that most of the menu looks identical. But if we click on the More button, then we find that we have this new thing called Adjust View. So if I select that, then there's a couple options. One is we can increase the contrast using their adaptive setting, or we can click on this text settings, and here we can change a number of things about the font size, the font type, the justification, margins, and line spacing. So all that is available for EPUB books. In addition to that, it's worth noting that we can go ahead and add a blank page at any point that we'd like. If we go into a PDF file, it's similar but slightly different. We'll go ahead and go into this PDF file. The menu initially starts identical, but if we click on the More button, they have a different Adjust View menu. Here you can adjust the view either to the width, to the height, or to a custom view. Let's go ahead and do width. There it is there. If we click on custom view, then you can set your magnification there using your fingers, like so. Go ahead and set that. And then, much like with the EPUB, we have the ability to add a note page. Otherwise, the settings are pretty much the same. Here we've returned to that EPUB file just to show an example of how you can change the font in order to make it more legible. Here I've made the font much larger, and now you can see that it's fairly easy to read. The text is plenty dark. I can go ahead and get rid of this menu here to get rid of that clutter, and it's a pretty decent e-reading experience. So myremarkable.com is a web location where you can manage your account with reMarkable, particularly if you have the Connect service. And you can see here I have 2 of what could have been 3 devices paired to the service. I can manage my devices here. My Connect status and management of subscription is here. And then my files are also listed here, and I can go to that. Although this is not a way to view files. Instead, you have some file management, like I can rename the file, move to trash, I can add new folders. So file management functions like that, but I can't view files in this particular location. I can, however, drag and drop files from my computer onto my reMarkable devices simply by dragging into this area. In addition to that, there's what's called reMarkable methods. reMarkable methods features templates that users have provided, and here's some examples of templates that folks have posted onto the site. And as you can see in the bottom, it's done by folks in the community. And there's just a lot here, in addition, of course, to what's already available on the device itself. And we can probably just keep going, but here's just an example of all the different things that are available. If we keep going, you do have the ability to connect with Slack. So if you want to send notes to Slack, then this is a way that you can do that. You can also download apps to be able to see your notes on either Android or iOS on the computer or on mobile. And then you have integrations, which allows you to connect to some services such as Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and Slack. The integration of these cloud services is not nearly as tight or well-defined as it is with the reMarkable cloud service, but still, this is an ability to connect a document, and then when you make changes to that document on your device, it will then update on the drive that you pulled the document from. So there is some integration there. There just isn't the level of syncing of files that we see with the reMarkable Connect service. And that's basically what you can do on myremarkable.com. So this is an example of what it's like to be in the reMarkable app. In this particular case, I'm using the app or running it in Mac OS, but the look of it would pretty much be the same regardless of what system that you're running it on. The layout is pretty straightforward. You can create a new notebook, create a folder, create a quick sheet, or even import files from this location. And then you can see what your folder and files are from your devices. And you can view them. So if I double click on this PDF, for example, I'm now inside the PDF and I can advance pages, I can look at the grid and see, and quickly go to any page that I want to. So you have complete navigation and viewing ability here. In addition to that, you can also add to your note. So here is a note. I'm going to double click on this and I can go ahead and add in a text box and then start typing like so. So you can actually, if you excuse the typo, you can actually do some formatting and typing on your notes as well as viewing them. There's some additional ways you can filter what you see. You can look at just notebooks, just PDFs, just ebooks, any favorites that you have designated documents, whether it's notes or documents. Like here's a document over here that's identified as a favorite, and now you can just see that one. Any tags you can search on here, and you can search on your trash bin as well. So this is basically what the app does, and it does allow you to view, and even if you have the Connect service, add to notes in terms of text. There is no stylus input on this app. That can only be done on the device. Okay, so that concludes the tour. The next step is the final review of this device. And in that review, I'm going to go over the battery results. I'm going to give what I think are the pros and cons of the device, both the ones that might drive a purchasing decision and the other notable attributes as well. I'll summarize that, kind of give some context and give my final recommendation, and then close with some final thoughts. So we're getting near the finish line, and I hope to see you then. Until then, have a great day.